All right, we are live. Hey, everybody, how you doing? We have a whole bunch of people here. I don't know what happened. The cold weather made everybody go outside or what? Divine Fam TV, Kyle Anderson, Uncle Al, Brandon Hirsch. That's about it. How's the weather where everybody's at? Kyle, what's the weather like in Florida? 102 or what?
He's probably still in the 80s.
I hear you, Kyle. I just asked you a question. Wait a
Hey,
couple,
Kyle.
see if we get some people to pile in here. I see Dan is coming up behind here. There he is. Hey,
Howdy, howdy, folks. How are you guys?
What's up, man?
Pretty good.
Not much. Just got back from a little bit of a shooting trip, so I had fun with that. So just having to clean up my range bag and all my garbage, but
Garbage.
years gone by. Good evening. Welcome in West Haven. Always and forever.
He said it's 80 in North Florida and 90 in Central Florida.
So it's 90 where you live at, Kyle? You bring some of that up here where I'm at. It's like burger cold here.
shit, I don't know if you've been having the same weather I've been having, Anthony, but it was like foggier than foggy could be this morning, but then it hit like 78 degrees today. So.
Yep. Humidity was up hardcore. My windows were sweating and my porch was sweating. I almost fell.
Thanks,
Oh
West
man,
Haven.
I was shooting like a little kind of like a defensive pistol course tonight, and all the guys that were running optics and stuff, they kept on getting like all fogged up and stuff because we'd go in from inside and outside, inside and outside. They were all complaining, so it was kind of fun. So
You're from there originally, aren't you, Dan?
yeah, I'm from here originally. I just lived in Utah for the last decade or so because I like playing in the mountains. So.
You'll try to wait for a couple more people. They're starting to pile in here.
Yeah, I got your notifications, so everything gets sent out.
Holy cow, my stuff is, oh my gosh, everything, I just like threw everything in my range bag and just, oh, it's such a mess.
Is it raining there yet? Is it raining where you're at, Dan?
No, it a little bit this morning, but it's actually nice and clear. It's just fucking humid as hell. You know, it's like 65 degrees outside. It's nice. Like the weather's great. It's just, you know, I'm sweating like a slave.
So is it deer season there?
As far as I know, yes. I'm not hunting this year though. I haven't gotten my in-state license yet, and I'm not going to pay for an out-of-state hunting license because it's like more than double the price. So.
Oh, surely there's like a relative or something there. You could use their address.
Oh yeah, I just haven't taken the time. I just haven't taken the time to actually like go down to DMV and get my driver's license switched over and all that stuff.
Southern Ohio prepping is trying to hide.
Hey, Grumpy, how are you? Shooting with Uncle Dan, and also, how are you doing, my friend? Good to see you.
Hey, Josh Connor's on. He done his very first video.
Hi, Josh. You're going to have to come on the growth stream so we can try to get your first video up.
Hi, Uncle
I'll have to
Dan.
go check that out.
Howdy, Uncle Dan. We've had a couple little random comment chats in the last week or two. I've been really enjoying your channel, Uncle Dan. It's you got some fun videos.
He does. He likes his guns.
Yeah, he absolutely, and I kind of like mine as well. So I've been really enjoying watching all of his stuff. So
Yeah, he's got a pretty good channel going on.
he's got some fun toys over there. So.
Fall November 1st in Florida. You guys don't get fall, Kyle.
They get a fall. It's just not like everyone else's fall.
Yeah, when it gets down to 60.
It's down in the 70s. They're like, oh man, I can finally
Go outside.
AC off.
You can finally go outside. You don't have to stare at the air conditioning vent. You
finally turn the AC off for one day.
Here in
Yeah,
Idaho,
we got. Go ahead.
when fall started, we had 6 days, then it snowed.
And I got the windows open and the attic fan on, and we're just I'm pulling the 65 and like that. Like it was gorgeous today. Once the fog and the clouds broke, man, it was like super blue sky, and it was like 76, 77 degrees out. So.
Huh. Detroit Prepping, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you dropping in here. Guys,
What's up?
we got Blue Healer as well. Kaylin, how you doing? All right, we
What's
got
up,
to start her up. Getting a lot of people dropping in now.
All right, cool.
All right, we are going to do 5 skills each from the panel, and anything anybody out there on the side panel, side chat decide to throw in, feel free to do that. We have Miss Cheryl here. She'll be trying to catch the things that I miss from the side chat, and I'll
So what you're saying is that she's going to be catching everything.
She's really good at it. Really good at it. I'm going to throw my 5 things out there, and then we're going to come up at the end. If we have time, we're going to throw 2 or 3 other items in there just that we might have thought about that may be of importance. Maybe not in the top 5, but should be in the list of consideration. I guess that's the best way to put it. Is that the best way to put it, you guys?
Either that or commonly overlooked positions or traits or qualities that you might not have thought about yet. So,
Yeah, my number one is firearms or security. That'd be my number one. And then my second one, we'll go back and we'll discuss everything. My second one is agriculture. My third one is medical or first aid. And my fourth one is water collection and purification. And then also I have engineering, because I think that'd be important so you can get everything put together.
In other words, you just want Reed.
Did Reed come in yet?
No, I was saying for the engineering, you just want Reed in your back pocket.
Definitely need Reed for sure, yeah. So that are my 5, and then we'll go around the room in here and see what everybody's got. We'll go back and talk about everything. So who wants to go next?
I can.
Me.
All right. I guess I'll go. So my skills are I got a little bit more like smaller. So I went with mechanical skills since I'm a master tech with cars. So obviously working on cars or anything mechanical is going to be big on my list. Same with carpentry. And when it comes down to building things, I'm actually not too shabby. Cooking. That's my number 3. Obviously, if you watch my channel, you know that I like cooking.
Make somebody a good wife.
That's right. Number 4, hobby gardening and farming, especially when it comes down to growing kind of the staples. And number 5 would be food preservation. Obviously, if you've watched my channel, you know I like to can. So that's my 5.
That sounds like we're all on the same page. Why don't you go next there, Gil?
Okay, I kind of skipped over some of the, basically, firearms, basic first aid, and some of that stuff, just because, but I think everybody should have that basically. But so for my 5, I took the first one. I went with wilderness first aid, which is above and beyond your basic first aid, and kind of toenailed that in with the CERT first aid training, which talks about triaging and stuff like that. Number 2, I put down horticulture. So basically not just gardening, but gardening, pruning trees, grafting, all that type stuff. for number 2. Number 3, electrical engineering. Know how to rewire stuff, electrical motors, rewire them, alternators, whatever. Regular, just household electrical as well in that. Number 4 is animal husbandry. Knowing how to raise and breed livestock and butcher it. Number 5, beekeeping. Honey is going to be worth gold. That's my 5.
So, Gil, you kind of stole my list. You know,
Hey, great minds think alike.
kind of stole my list, and I actually I cheated and I put 6 on my primary list, but 2 of them are kind of the same guy. So on my list, number 1 is going to be your, it's not necessarily you're not necessarily going to have like a surgeon, but you're going to need to have someone that is very medically competent, whether it's a physician's assistant or an EMT intermediate, paramedic, someone that can, like you said, that can do triage, that can do that quick problem solving to do the cert, to stop the bleeding, stuff like that, to be able to get it to where you can then get into a bit more advanced medicine. Second one I have is a machinist, blacksmith or a machinist, somebody that can fabricate metal, someone that can fix stuff that's broken. And I think that goes kind of in with your mechanic slash lumber guy or carpenter on Anthony's list. And then I have a specific, like a horticulturist, plant farmer, and then an animal husbandry guy. Those are going to be like two separate guys, because I want someone that's specialized in animals and someone that's specialized in growing stuff, because those are going to be very, you need someone to run the livestock, someone to run the fields, but they're going to have to obviously work in tandem so that you can have certain stock in certain fields doing their thing, whatever they're. I have an engineer. Obviously, we want someone that's going to be able to have that big picture, that kind of that mechanical slash electrical slash whatever mindset to be able to create things out of nothing. And then last was, a security guy. I think those are going to be some of the more important topics. Now on my random 3 list, I'm going to go ahead and throw out my. Let me go let Cheryl do her top 5 first.
Yep, you're up, Cheryl.
Okay. My 5 skills. The first one is sewing, and I put textile because there's a lot of different things that fall under textile. There's crochet, knitting, looming, weaving, repair work, designing, and spinning. So there's a lot of different types. So I went ahead and just put / textile. And then cooking, gardening, and canning. Now my last one is, I was real hesitant about which one I wanted to put down. I couldn't decide. I think I'm going to go with teaching on my last one.
Teaching?
Teaching. Yeah. Basically, instructing, with skills that, say someone comes into your group and you want them to fit in, you want them to work somewhere, but they don't really have the skills needed. I would be able to do that. I would be able to teach them that skill, and of course, later on, when you have a community and you start a school, that's where I'd fit in, so.
All right, we got a question already in the side chat. It says everybody carries a tourniquet in their bags, right? Without a surgeon or a medevac, what's the sense?
So you don't die.
Well, there's Civil War doctors. You might have to amputate if you've got your tourniquet, but I'd rather lose a limb than lose my life. So.
Yeah. The thing is, if you don't have that tourniquet in there, you got a chance of surviving. at least cutting the blood flow off until you can get to a medevac or to a place where somebody's practicing surgeon skills or whatever like that, in my opinion.
Or just as somebody else in the party that can apply the proper compression dressing on the leg to stop the blood flow. You may have a tourniquet and have to put it on yourself, but you can't do the hold the everything you need to do on yourself. So you need to put that on until you can get to someone else who can help you and finish doing the first aid on yourself.
Uncle Lyle put his list up: situation analysis, money making, legal, skills and training, and human removal.
Human removal.
Human removal,
like-
that's a good one.
Like possum removal.
Who's digging the hole?
Yeah.
Who's got the torch?
Who's pooping under my porch?
Well, it kind of looks like, to me, it looks like we're sort of all on the same page, but some of you guys had some really good stuff that I didn't think about. Like, I totally agree with that beekeeping deal.
Well,
That's
and
going
that
to be
actually-
pretty important.
and that brings me into my alternate list. I'm going to dive in here just to throw out some of the other skills.
All right.
Some of the other things I think that some people typically overlook. I had beekeeper as my number one on my list because not many of us grow sugar cane, and we're going to need sweeteners and stuff like that. So honey is going to be your source for that. You're going to have a diplomat. You're going to have somebody that can smooth talk and someone that can communicate with other communities that are around you and to be able to provide the diplomacy needed to be able to maintain as much peace as you can. I think it's going to be really important that you can have someone that can go out and be your ambassador type of thing. And then one of the other things I had is a soap maker and a candle maker. You're going to need someone that can make soap and make candles for you. And that's going to go hand in hand with the beekeeping. You use the beeswax to make the candles. You use the pig fat and the charcoal, whatever, to make your soap. But you're going to need someone that can do that so that you can maintain hygiene and have light if you don't have any other means of having light.
Dan, we were so close. My other ones, I had the machinist welder on there. I had a farrier horsemanship. Someone that knows how to do shoe horses and train horses. My probably most uncommon one, which I think is really uncommon, but everybody else is going to think it is common, is a sniper scout, Marine Corps sniper scout. Not so much for going out and killing, but for going out and being able to scout an area and leave the area, and there's no trace that he was even there. It's just like super bushcraft.
Yeah.
Leave no trace, yeah. Yeah, my backup ones were blacksmithing. I think blacksmithing is going to be pretty important.
Yeah,
It kind of rolls hand in hand with kind of like an engineer job, because anybody that knows how to blacksmith can build something out of nothing.
Well, blacksmith and machinist are very much different than engineers. Engineers are the brains, and the machinists are the brawn.
Yeah, but I know people.
The engineer tells the machinist what to do and how to do it, and the machinist makes it happen. So,
I'm not sure. You may get away with having a machinist in SHTF. It depends on what you can find laying around.
well, I mean, when I say machinist, blacksmith, machinist, I kind of lump those two into the same group because machinist is the guy that fabricates metal. Blacksmith is the guy that fabricates metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, the difference between a blacksmith, though, and a farrier, a blacksmith can manufacture everything. but he's not. He doesn't know about how a horse's hoof works, how to put the shoes on. That's a separate skill above and beyond a blacksmith. Is a farrier.
So that'd be
Absolutely.
like a veterinarian.
No, it's just it's
like a veterinary, blacksmith, animal husbandry. All that could like be lumped into one.
Yeah, but if you're a good farrier, you're good at horsemanship because you got to know how to handle the horses, how to ride them, how to recognize how to do the shoes and stuff. My dad was a farrier for several years, and so I used to watch him go out and shoot different type horses, and it was amazing how he could tell which horse was going to be trouble, what had a bad foot and stuff like that. So that's a skill that I think is going to be very rare to find and get someone to be able to teach it to others.
Farrier is it's very hard to teach somebody else. I knew a guy, a really good friend of mine that was a farrier, and man, he said them horses have minds of their own. You really got to know your way around them. You got to be able to haul off and smack them in the middle of the eyes or whatever you have to do to get them to do what you want.
My dad used to bite their ears. Seriously, you have one go, he'd get out, bite its ear, the horse would go rigid and wouldn't move. And after about 10 seconds, he'd let it go. And the horse would just look at him like, "What the heck did you do?"
Hey, if it works, it works, man. So
Hi, Uncle Dan.
What Cheryl's saying about a teacher, I think that's very important skill to basically have a train the trainer, someone that can teach other people how to teach their skills. Because in an after the apocalypse situation, everyone is going to have to be cross trained. So you're going to have to teach someone else your skill, and they're going to have to teach you their skill.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I think everybody will be a teacher after in post-apocalyptic thing, because everybody's going to have to teach other people what they know. That person is going to have to teach somebody else something that they know, and then they're going to learn something that they're going to teach somebody else. So everybody will pretty much be a cross trainer of some sort, unless you really don't understand the communication process.
And that's what a trainer does, is teach a person how to communicate their skill to someone else.
Uncle Dan's out of here, you guys. Tell Uncle Dan goodbye.
Yeah.
see you later, Uncle Dan.
Bye, Dan.
Blue Healer says Scotch and hobble them. They learn how to stand.
Well, and you're have the brewer. You're gonna have to have the guy that can make the mead and make the booze, because let's be real, we've been making that since the beginning of time, just about.
Well, it's important for medical.
That's where your beekeeper, and that's where your beekeeper is going to come in as well, is to be able to make the mead out of the honey. So,
got to grow your corn, and make you some shine. That way, you can sterilize your medical equipment.
You got Kaylin's coming up here.
Yeah.
There's her pipe right there, you guys. That's from Kaylin.
Oh, she got mine. One of my three fringe ones.
Now, herbalist is very important too. I had a bunch of others to put on there, but I had to limit what I could put on there. But that's good.
Anthony, I don't think I've heard your fringe stuff yet. So,
yeah, my three fringe ones. You took one of mine with diplomacy, because that's just so important, especially with other people. Foraging, she has the foraging on hers, and if I had to add another one to it, dairy. You got to make sure you can make your cheese, can process your milk, your cream, your fats, because dairy. We've been dealing with dairy for how long now? Can you make your cheese? Can you make your butter? Kind of stuff, and then supply. We have to make sure our supplies are rotated, annotated. We know where things are going, if someone takes something out of the tool room, where I gotta make sure it comes back. I gotta make sure stuff's getting rotated right. So
There's what Kenneth H is throwing out there. He says a mechanic, a farmer, a doctor, a security guy, a commo guy. That's probably communications.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those are all good ideas. I never thought about the communications.
Josh Connor just brought up someone that can make maps.
Yep, Intel. Your Intel scout guy is going to be important.
yeah, that'd be your like I said, your sniper scout. That's one of the things they have to do is learn how to make maps to communicate what they saw.
Intel guy is going to be your map guy.
Yeah.
Are you still out there, Corsair? How come you're not up here? I sent you a stinking link.
Is that
Didn't he say this morning? Send me a link. Anthony?
Yeah. But he wasn't sure whether he'd be able to get here in time. You can still come up, Steve. Just click on that link and make sure and he'll get you up here.
He said that this is time where his family and everything gets together. So if he can get away from him, I guess he's going to come over.
He's in the room.
Okay.
He's out there visiting with the kids.
Yeah.
Kenneth H brought up, he said the sewing, wait a minute, anyone who can make clothes would be beneficial, which was the first one on my list, but he mentioned shoes.
Yeah, shoes.
Yeah.
Cobbler.
Big one. Yep. That's where your leather work will come in there, Will.
And that's what you're also going to have someone that knows how to tan hides and actually process the cow down to leather. So
yeah, no kidding. That's hard work there.
Yeah.
Better staff your line.
That's a heck of a project.
Yeah, I got a whole bunch more skills now to add to my my planning thing I did for back last month on emergency planning. I had a list of skills in there, but I got a whole bunch more now from you guys to add to that list.
That's why we do this.
Southern Ohio put his list up there: sewing, forging / blacksmithing, communication, cooking, and diplomat.
Oh, that's the wrong one.
That's very true, though.
That's right. Yeah.
Diplomat, you're actually going to need a diplomat. I mean, somebody that can smooth everything over, because everybody's going to get pissed off at some point.
Well, not only that, but your diplomat is going to be the one that he's going to initiate your trades and your bartering systems with other communities. So you're definitely going to want to have a guy that can go out there and be the salesman that he needs to be and the ambassador that you need him to be. So I think that's a really important one personally.
So we need to recruit a used car salesman.
Slash lawyer, slash politician.
He's the mechanic guy, so that's Anthony.
I'm the used car salesman, but
you got to be out there hot wire together.
Yeah.
Bringing back the bargains of the day.
Well, you know how men are, especially when you get two alphas together. They may be best of friends, but at first they're going to be at odds, and you got to know how to talk them to the point where they can see it, because you don't want people automatically butting heads just because they're too proud to admit it's right. So,
me man.
Kaylin said her additions would be transportation, weather monitoring, and forecasting, and also trading.
Weather's big. Weather's a real big one.
Yeah.
We take that for granted every day when you can just look online and see what the weather's going to be like tomorrow. You can't quite do that if you don't.
You got to look out. You look out the window.
Yeah, but you need to know what it's going to be in a couple days too.
Yeah, but if you're wearing you're going to want to know if that hurricane's coming, because the big storms come up one day and like, wow, it was sunny yesterday. Now 200-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah.
You have to look off into the horizon and say, see those black clouds? They'll be here in 4 hours. Run.
Yeah.
Isn't that how
Along
the Indians did it, right?
Along that same line, something to consider adding to your preps is I know they have the Poor Richard's Almanac now, soft copy for each year going back. Historical, just get that whole thing, because you'll see there are patterns in the almanacs of seasonal changes and stuff like that. So there's a good possibility that we're going to have a storm during the first week of October. And so stuff like that is important to have.
That's what we need Uncle Al for, because he's always telling everybody when you're going to have a bad storm.
Mm-hmm. Uncle Al would make a great weatherman in that situation.
Yeah, I actually had a conversation about that with Free Spirit Press News, how the almanac repeats.
Yeah. I mean, it's like we used to run from the time I was 11 up until a couple of years ago. We had a huge haunted house, and I could tell you exactly when in October we were going to get rain 9 out of 10 times, because we usually got rain one day in the last 2 weeks of October, and it would rain on our haunted house. But most of the time it wouldn't.
Another skill that typically gets kind of overlooked that I think is really important is record keeping. You're going to want someone that keeps a journal of the daily events, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because we learn from our history, and we can. It's not a bad thing to have someone that's going to be documenting your
Attention, yeah, that'd be perfect. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your thought on that wilderness first aid, Gil.
Wilderness first aid?
Yeah.
Well, it's a course offered by the Boy Scouts. You have to have all your other first aid.
No, what the Boy Scouts say. What's your pull on it? How would that be going into play?
Well, all right. Oh, using it?
Yeah.
Well, all right. Say, all right, you're out hunting or trapping, and trapping is another one I was just going to bring up right now, because most people don't know how to trap. But if you're out hunting and trapping, you usually go out in pairs or something. So in case something happens, if something happens to one of you, you got to know how to, do all the extra stuff you need to do to get that person back. Whether it's build a litter, whether it's doing the proper splint work and stuff. You need to know more about wilderness first aid. You learn more about hypothermia and heat stroke and that sort of stuff, and look on the sign. Yeah, and how to basically take care of all the stuff that is going to be out in the wilderness. Will be a death sentence normally.
Would that be something like a rescue operation then?
It could be, but it's mainly for like when you're going out there and oops, something happened.
Yeah.
You go to step on a rock and you slip and you fall. You run into a rattlesnake or a cottonmouth or something. Yeah, it's your wilderness first aid is something you want to covers. It's the next step up on the level of
I see you down there, of course. There, you can hide, but you can't run.
Hey, Steve,
run, but you can't hide.
Yeah. All right, Steve. Now you're up here. Let's hear your top 5.
My top 5.
Top
Let's see.
5 skills that you think are required.
Hold on. A dog.
A dog.
Yeah. Somebody's all over me. The basic ones, I mean, kind of what you guys have already been saying, but farming, of course, because you got to get food. And of course, I'm going to lean heavy towards the security guys. I don't know if you can narrow it down to 5. I mean, you can get rid of some things. You don't need lawyers and politicians and all that good stuff, but you kind of need everybody else. So I don't know if you can narrow it down to 5 because then you'd find a hole somewhere.
Yeah, but this is your top 5.
Yeah, but like Cheryl was saying, if I say my top 5, I'm going to be like the blacksmith and all the other stuff you guys said. And then Cheryl says, yeah, somebody put clothes together, and you go, oh, yeah.
Uh,
Okay, you got cool knives and stuff from the blacksmith, but you're all running around in loincloths because you can't figure out how to put no clothes together. Which, I mean, for Palmetto, that would be cool. But for the rest of us, yeah, not so much.
That's just every day for Palmetto, dude. Come on now, let's be real. It's just a walk in the park for him. So
There you go. That's a whole
you can't really
a whole
discount
new
anybody.
video for you, Anthony. Running around the homestead and nothing but a skivvy or whatever.
There you go. There's your next
Y'all
video.
see what
But no, I mean, if you think about it, you got a guy that's a shopkeeper. Okay, well, there's your logistics guy. But he's not called a logistics guy. He's a shopkeeper. And maybe he knows how to do something else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, something like what we've been talking about. Everybody might be 2 or 3 jobs might be lumped into one basket for one person.
Yeah, and then I mean, the important thing is what Gil was talking about is you got to be able to transmit those skills to another person. And a lot of people discount that because there's a lot of people that know stuff, but there's not a lot of people that can teach stuff.
A lot of people don't have the conversational skills. Yeah, can't talk with one hand like me.
Yeah. No, it's not as easy to teach somebody how to do something as most people think.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So, Steve, what do you think are the 3 most forgotten skills?
Which category?
Anything.
Well, that's not the answer you want, but there's got to, which category? Are we talking about just human nature and being able to have a face-to-face discussion with somebody else?
Thanks, Kenneth.
Or, you're going to talk about...
I'm going to bring you up here. I see what you're asking there. Whoops. Wrong one. All the way at the bottom here.
Well, no, even then when it said business management, are you going to discount somebody because they say they're a business manager? Well, they know how to get along with people. They know how to organize stuff. They can do things that you might not think of if you just hear about it. I mean, the only ones that we can get rid of for sure are lawyers and judges and politicians.
Oh, for sure.
We might still need judges.
All right, we'll
I
keep a
still
couple judges around.
So here's what Kenneth is saying. He's saying everyone has a top list of people we want, but what are we doing to become the people we want around here?
I got my coffee.
Oh, you got the coffee? Oh, boy.
Too much coffee.
You see that, Kenneth? Steve's got the coffee.
And I still got more in the pot.
Right. Well, there's a couple of other skills here that I don't think anybody's
Thanks for the
thought of.
super chat, Keith, or Kenneth. I appreciate it.
All right, here comes one that's I think you guys might find interesting. How many of you guys know how to work concrete?
I do.
I know you do, Will. Concrete is a skill.
I do.
It's a hard-ass job.
Aquaponics.
Yeah, I don't know nothing about concrete. I can supervise you while you do it.
I can make it flat.
I don't know a whole lot about. I was a concrete cutter in a previous life. So.
I can make it go like that too if I need to.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of address what he said about what are we doing to become the people we want to have around. I talk about that a lot on my channel about learning skills, having the knowledge. And that is part of prepping, is learning skills that you're not good at, or obtaining the knowledge you need to do something. So I think that is a prep, to learn the things that you're not good at or that, you want to learn. So I think that's what he was kind of asking.
Communication skill is going to be a big one. You got to have enough people that know how to communicate effectively.
Well, and then you take that another step. So if you're looking for people with skills, has anybody brought up sea navigation?
No.
No, nobody has.
We don't live in no stinking California.
Well, I know. I kind of feel
So
bad for
apparently-
you guys, but that would
Apparently,
be
Steve's going to need Siemens, right? So you need
being able
Siemens,
to
what you're saying?
navigate here, or being able to navigate across the Great Lakes, or I don't know, you're down in Florida, somewhere where there's ocean and it doesn't snow, I guess.
Here in the Midwest, we have the Mississippi River.
Yeah, there you go. You got to be able to navigate down that, be able to handle a boat. So I mean, once you start going down the rabbit hole, there's not too many jobs you can just say, okay, yeah, we don't need that job.
Well, no, I mean, you need to operate simple things as well. I mean, can you operate a printing press? Can you operate a sextant? Can you operate a, I mean, random things that people take for granted these days because they don't exist anymore, but they're going to come back if power's not, around.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly.
a loom.
Exactly.
Can
So
you
you're gonna need a group of people that go
And
out.
I only asked that
gather
because it's
all-
one of those weird skills that I picked up.
Yeah,
So I can operate a sextant and all that good stuff.
You can operate a sextant.
Yeah,
Where'd you learn that at?
In the Marine Corps?
In the Marine Corps?
Yeah.
They didn't teach that to me in the Navy. There's been a reason for it.
Yeah, no shit, they didn't teach you that in the Navy, because it's the Navy.
Okay, there's two more. Dangerous Freedom said he can frame, and Josh Josh Connor said snowshoe maker. Oh,
Oh, that's a good one. A carpenter's definitely a good one.
If
Carpenter's
you're in the
definitely.
climate, that'll work.
You don't need a
Because I'm gonna-
snowshoe maker, you just need to walk south, that's all.
Well, here's one for you. Bow maker,
Oh, there
Bow
you go.
maker.
arrow maker.
Oh, now I can see the comments. Oh,
I made a bow out of a piece of PVC pipe. You guys ever tried to do that?
Yeah.
Go back in
Wait,
my
did you say
videos.
bow?
Back, I don't know. It's a bow out of PVC. Yeah,
Okay.
I made a video on it back a couple of years in my library. It worked pretty good. I made the arrow for it out of a piece of dowling. I made the PVC pipe thing to shoot the arrow. I used I can't remember regular old nylon string for the bow string. And it didn't go very far, but it did go, and it stuck in a piece of wood.
Back when I was in high school in metal shop, we had chopped up a bunch of cars and stuff for to scrap them out. I took one of the leaf springs and made a crossbow out of it.
A leaf spring? That'd be a little
I've
bit
made a
heavy.
bunch of stuff out of leaf springs, man. That is some hard ass steel, right? You can make knives, machetes, all sorts of stuff out of spring steel. So 'cause that's like
5160.
4160 spring
Yeah,
steel, something like that. So,
SOP said he made one out of a CB antenna. Must be a bow.
Well, another thing similar is everybody know what an atlatl is?
Oh yeah, those are fun.
Yeah,
thrower.
that's a skill that's I'm not sure it's easy, but
We used to do
once
that.
you
We used
learn
to do
it,
that in
you
Boy Scouts
can
all the
direct it
time.
pretty good.
I didn't make
we did that.
it. My son made it at school, but we went out and played with it. Those things it's an art to get that arrow to go through that thing. You gotta pitch it a certain way.
What about a bola?
those
Wow.
are hard to throw.
An
Yeah,
oa?
those
Is that
massive-
like a pia?
Yeah.
Oa,
No,
pia?
A bola is where you have the three pieces of rope with rocks at the end. Two of them are the same weight. One is a different weight, so it'll actually twirl, and then it's either grabs onto the legs of something or kills something. So
randomly, alongside with your bola, one of my talents, hobbies that I do all the time is traditional slingshot, like the David and Goliath style slingshot. I make them out of paracord or leather or whatever. I've gotten pretty darn accurate. I can typically hit an 8-inch target out at about 30, 40 yards, and that thing, those rocks come out really freaking fast. So I suggest everyone figure out how to use an old school slingshot. So
Yeah, you're talking about bolo, right? That's that leather piece. You just go like this, sling it out. What do they call that thing?
that's slingshot. So.
Slingshot.
It's a sling. So.
Yeah, sling.
The
I remember playing with those when I was a kid.
I think it was Will Patriot that was talking about the arrow attachment for like a wrist rocket slingshot, so you can actually shoot.
Oh, those are pretty fun.
Yeah, shoot an arrow from like a wrist rocket.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made one of those on a video too. Made it out of PVC pipe, and I used a bike tire inner tube, and tied it to the uprights, and made a circle. Cut the pipe off so it was about that long. But, whoo, man, that thing was flying.
I'll tell you from personal experience when you go from traditional sling to sling like wrist rocket style slingshot, it's night and day. You can get so much more distance, power, and energy out of like a traditional sling than you do out of those wrist rockets. They're nice and convenient, but you lose a lot of power off of those things. Comparison. So,
and you rely on rubber.
And rubber is eventually going to degrade if you expose it to UV too long or to dry weather and you don't oil it appropriately. So,
plumbing is a skill that both water supply and sanitation.
My plumbing supply would be a guy digging a hole in a cistern out in the backyard. Dig me an outhouse. There you go. There's your plumbing.
Somebody's going to have to go out and make a humongous drain field. Who knows how to make a drain?
Dan stuck?
Who knows how to put a drain field in?
Okay, I'm gonna bring up something that hasn't been mentioned yet. I put down domestic management, which would include like inventory or supply management, anything that would just kind of maintain your community and making sure things are done and keeping an inventory of what you've got and that kind of thing. Just kind of managing the place, not necessarily as a leader, but more as like a supply type person.
Yeah, Anthony was kind of talking about that. Yeah, exactly, quartermaster is the best term for that.
Somebody that writes everything down so they know what they have and when they need
someone who knows where all the tools are and aren't, and
yeah, exactly.
What about boat maker? Since I don't know. I heard bow, but to make boats, human beings have been traditionally fishermen for longer than most. So fish are usually one of the first sources of protein. So you don't want to overlook boat and net making.
Yeah, that's a good one. Kayak, canoe, rowboat, any type of vessel like that, get you out on the water where you can bring in. Where you can toss along with that, net maker. Someone that knows how to make fishing nets.
A netter, that netting's pretty hard to do too. I worked on
that's where your sewing and crocheting and knitting skills are going to come to hand. So
I worked making crab pots for the people that do that.
Well, that's why I don't think you can discount or narrow it down to a specific job. So you can have like a broad category. You could have a broad category of like a medical person. But if your medical person is, I don't know, a foot specialist, that doesn't help you out much. Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You could have like 5 broad categories that you want covered, food, security, stuff like that. But you can't narrow it down to, I just need this one type of person in the group.
So one person may need to have multiple avenues. So
Yeah.
depending on how big your group is too, I suppose.
And that kind of goes back to the question that somebody brought up earlier. Is like, well, what are you guys doing? Well, I know myself. I'm always trying to acquire new skills.
Yeah. Well, that's what I did. I've been doing this for 40 some odd years, emergency preparedness stuff. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I got my Class A General Engineering Contractor's license. I had to know electricity, I had to know plumbing, I had to know grading, I had to know both sewer in the water, construction, framing, concrete work, all that to get the license. So it took me quite a few years to be able to get that contractor's license. And once I had it, I knew I had these skills, that I had the basic enough knowledge in to get the license. Then I need to go on. I started learning other stuff as well. But
Well, it don't take nothing to get the license, does it?
You got to know both. You got to know bookkeeping. You got to know the actual stuff about about the stuff, about the concrete work, about the stuff, you got to know about, flow of water, what percentage is the minimum requirement for a sewer line to be laid, stuff like that. But yeah, so, you look, I did that. Like my mom took me to, she wanted to learn how to do, upholstery, to reupholster the chairs and stuff. So she had me go to the class when I was a teenager with her at the adult school. So there are others. Yeah, that's another one. There are upholstery. Someone knows how to do upholstery work, make furniture.
I know how to crochet.
You know how to crochet? All right.
My mom taught me how.
That's pretty.
He learned that in the Corps.
Yeah.
Crocheting his boots together.
Yeah, me and Cheryl can sit around and crochet stuff, and you guys can go do, I don't know, other things.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Lori Jean, I want to tell you, I'm going to be putting up a video and doing the pattern for those crocheted bags. So since you went to class, you can make one. She went to a crochet class.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually learning how to knit at the moment.
I'm learning how to sew.
Yay.
I really enjoy sewing. I've sewn for a long time. I used to sit with my mom at her sewing machine.
Speaking of leather work, look what I did. Look what I've been working on.
Cool.
It's not for me, it's for somebody else, but that's why I was out of your stream so early this morning. I got to get it done for the guy.
Yeah. My mom made sure that me and my two brothers knew how to not just put patches on, but how to do full-blown sewing and stuff. We started when we were real young. When my older brother was, when he was 16, he made me a 3-piece suit.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I still have it just because it's a keepsake. But yeah, it was, granted this was back in the 70s and it's polyester, which he said was a pain to work with. But it
probably got
really
bell bottom too, right?
Yes, it did.
Got those real sharp collars.
And yeah, it was definitely a 70s suit. But yeah, it was a 3-piecer vest, and the vest, everything. So yeah, that's a skill that they no longer require in the Boy Scouts. Is they should have a tailor merit badge.
Yeah, I'm looking at how to sew. I could run a sewing machine. I haven't done it in years, but if I sat down and started doing it, I could run a sewing machine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, those are no.
I can cross stitch and repair, but I can't do any kind of. I can't do any kind of shirt making, and I really want to learn how to do that. How to make garments.
Oh, I used to sit down with my mom and lay out the whole patterns and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Me too.
I did too.
My grandma's going to teach me that next weekend.
Nice.
Yeah,
Anthony, take a video camera with you.
Yeah,
I will.
I don't have a sewing machine right now, so I can't teach machine sewing. So, and
she told me before she dies, she's going to teach me.
Awesome. I am having major issues trying to figure out how to fix that bag. So just bear with me. I'll get it figured out. So it's in worse shape than I thought. So, but I wanted to throw another one out there that has not been put in there that I do have skills with, and that's mental care, psychology.
Psychiatric care. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because not only that, but the morale aspect of it. Putting the right right mindset. Keeping everybody on the happy note.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be suffering post-traumatic stress after the balloon goes up after the first year, because things are going to be really hairy and they have to do some stuff they don't like. And it was Matt A's prepping was talking on his video today about these people saying, "Oh, I'm just going to go out and shoot everybody and do this," and he's talking about, no, that's the sound of a bullet hitting the flesh and everything else. Unless you've been in combat, it's going to really screw with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You talking about
Even
Matt's
when
video?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even when you've been in combat, you still don't want to do that again. Trust me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to mess with somebody pretty bad when they have to actually either kill somebody or be around a dead body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When I was a deputy sheriff, I used to go out for a lot of suicides and stuff, because I was the only guy that didn't puke in the sheriff's department. So they always, when I was on duty, hey, we got a suicide, head on over there.
Yeah, it's not a pleasant time.
Well, and you may have those that have maybe lost their entire family or members of their family that they're going to have to learn how to deal with that, how to live with that. There's going to be a lot of different issues that they're going to have to deal with. That you're going to have someone that's trained or at least have some skills with the mental illness aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's touch on, just before we have to get out of here, let's talk about horticulture. We didn't touch on that too much. Tell us about that, Gil.
Well, I had a good teacher. The lady up the street from me, Kathy Eccles, I've known her since I was a teenager. And she was the head of the horticulture department at Diablo Valley College. She's got 10 acres up the street from me. She goes all over the world bringing plants over, and she comes and she brings them to church and talks to everyone at church about them that wants to learn about it. And like, we got a catalpa tree in our front yard. If you see that video on my wife's garden in the front yard, that big catalpa tree came from Australia. But she's taught us all about grafting, like oranges. Most orange trees are on lemon tree roots, and all sorts of different vegetables and stuff. And there's a time about when you plant them, when you don't, when you start seedlings in the house. And like for here in Idaho, we're going to be starting stuff in the house when it's cold, and gradually enlarging the pots until it's warm enough to take them outside and plant them outside. So there's a lot about plant breeding, and even some of the stuff in her greenhouse. She's had me go up there and help her one time where we were doing the pollinating with a Q-tip in the greenhouse, because the bees weren't in the greenhouse yet because it's still cold and she needed to get the stuff done. So there's a lot of different things about horticulture that most people don't think about, as far as, the plant varieties and stuff, and the GMO, yeah, I can't even say it now. Genetically modified, plants and stuff, the old heirloom seeds and stuff. Some of those are going to need to be grown in a way that
Controlled area.
that you can have to hand pollinate them so you have enough seeds for the next year to actually plant those seeds. And
So you'd have to have like a inside grow room or something like that.
a greenhouse or a high tunnel of some sort, but you need to know how to work with the plants to not only figure out which ones you're going to plant, which ones you're going to keep from planting, to do seed production, because you ain't going to go to the store and buy more seeds.
And GMO is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, that's been around since the Romans. They genetically modified their crops. So,
but they didn't genetically modify them so you couldn't harvest the seeds and grow from them. Like a lot of the corns and stuff, you can't take the seed and grow. It won't grow properly. You have to,
There's a difference between GMO and hybrids. Hybrids are how we get corn. Hybridization happens in nature. GMOs doesn't happen in nature. GMOs is where you put a gene from a fish in your corn so it stops a worm from eating it. So, like, that's the type of stuff that needs a certain inoculant on the seed when it's planted in order to sprout. So that's the kind of thing that you got to stay from. When it comes to hybrid seeds, you don't want to grow those either, because hybrid seeds are the ones that are going to not come back true to what the parent plant was, because it's a hybrid. It's going to be one or the other. That was a parent. That's why you choose heirloom seeds, because with heirloom seeds, it's going to be the same as the parent.
Exactly.
Now, this is just for naivete, but is cloning plants a thing? Like, can you cut the branch and plant it and clone them and keep the mama plant alive? And
there's a lot of plants you can do that with.
There is, and that's actually hybrid too. That's how you can cross them and make hybrid.
You can clone tomatoes, basil, rosemary, a lot of herbs. All you do is you just take off a stem, you take the leaves off it, put it down with the rooting hormone in the dirt, and keep it watered, and boom, you got a new plant.
Yeah. So my wife pulled up a bunch of basil, and she wasn't going to process it right away, and so she had a big old the wide mouth quart jars, and she put water in and stuck them in there, and she just to keep them from wilting till she got more of them. 2 days later, they were sprouting roots.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of herbs are known to do that.
Yeah. There are other ones too. There's trying to remember. So some plants we used to have. Privet. Privet. You could take the branch of the tree, bend it down in the ground, stake it down, so it would come down in, and some of the leaves would stick up, and where it was buried, you bury that there, and in 6 weeks it'd be rooting, and then you could cut it, and now you have another plant.
Oh, yeah, azaleas.
So there are a lot of plants you can do that with. Just trying to think. I know there's a lot of shade tree ornamental plants and stuff, but some
typical azalea plant is the one.
Yeah, artichokes. There's another one she does it with.
We're talking outside Steve's realm.
No, I'm just listening now. I don't know anything about that stuff.
Yeah,
so, yeah. I'll be the first to admit I don't know.
I don't know. I think your garden started to look good at the end of the season there, Steve.
Yeah, well, the puppies made sure and trimmed it up for me and stuff. It's good now. Yeah.
Lori, we were using some special type Q-tips. She had some special long ones that didn't have a lot of cotton on the end. It was a tight little cotton one, and those were the ones we'd use. You can use regular Q-tips, but you wind up collecting too much staying on the Q-tip. But Kathy had these really special ones.
Use a paintbrush. The small little paintbrush, the detail brushes are the best ones to get inside the squash. You also want to encourage. You have to know which plant requires a bee, which plant requires the wind, because there are different ways to pollinate. So,
yeah, that's all part of horticulture.
Yeah, some require bees. Period. You can't pollinate with anything but bees, and then other ones like corn requires wind. That's why it's planted in rows.
Yeah.
So your beekeeper might be a horticulturist at the same time.
Yeah, or he also might be a candle maker as well. So in the wintertime, when he's not working in the garden, he's taking all that beeswax and he's making candles.
There you go. Yep, taking the beeswax. Yep.
Okay, Lori Jean wants to know, does it matter the type of bee?
Yes, you can't have honey without the honeybee because the bumblebee, a carpenter bee, do not make honey. However, you need American bees to be able to pollinate American plants like tomatoes, potatoes, because they do still have flowers, and peppers. The honeybee cannot manipulate those flowers. Only the bumblebee and carpenter bees can.
That's weird. I didn't know that.
Interesting.
You're a pretty knowledgeable guy there, Anthony.
Well, when it comes down to gardening, I've been making my efforts.
That's why I'm glad I'm only like 3 or 4 hours drive from Anthony. You know.
You got to start somewhere. Steve just figured out what nightshade was today, so he's learning.
Somebody said that in the comments, and I was like, "Oh, I know what they're talking about now."
Yeah, that was budget bushcraft. Yeah, our bumblebees, the big fluffy. Yeah, the bumblebees are the ones that look like they shouldn't be able to fly because they're so big and round.
Yeah, and the bumblebees also nest underground, so you want to make sure if you see bees coming out of the ground, you don't like stomp them and whatever. Like those are the good bees. Keep them.
Well, the problem also, you also have yellow jackets which live underground too. So you got to make sure it's whether it's a yellow jacket, wasp, or a bumblebee.
Yeah, but yellow jackets and wasps also have their place because they take care of a lot of the pests you have. So
yeah,
don't just go ahead and smack a wasp, because whenever you got caterpillars killing all your tomato plants, you're going to want those wasps to take care of those.
Yeah. Well, here's something else. I don't know if you know this one, Anthony. If you have for your tomato plants, if you plant borage around your tomato plants, the aroma from the borage flowers chases off the moths that lay the eggs for the tomato cutworms.
Yeah, I forgot the name of the actual moth, but yes, barrage is great. I plant barrage. It also works really well next to strawberries. So if you have a strawberry patch, plant barrage, and it will reseed every year. Pretty blue flowers. They taste like cucumbers.
And you can make a nice tea out of it too.
Mm-hmm. Yep, right, bees love it.
Covered everything on the list. I was writing down everybody's list as they were talking today, and we have just about covered everything everybody brought up. Does anybody else have anything else? Steve?
No, I'm good.
We covered just about everything. I can't believe it. We have pretty good discussions in here.
Well, we kind of didn't talk about it too much, but I heard it broached a little bit. But along with your horticulture is going to be your herbologist. Someone that knows how to use your herbs appropriately for medicinal purposes.
I grew herbs for a long time.
I just thought of two things. Dan just made me think of the second one. First one was a pharmacist, and the second one is an apothecary, or whatever how you pronounce it. Someone who can take those herbs, someone who can take those herbs and turn them into medicine.
Yeah,
there you go. Maybe one in the other, one in the same too.
Yeah, mostly your brewer or whoever makes your alcohol is going to be probably your apothecary, since most alcohol is going to be used to make tinctures to treat whatever you have. So, and Lori Jean, it's borage, B-O-R-A-G-E, borage.
Well, you'll be wanting to take the beeswax to make some of the other stuff too, for the medical, like the bombs and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I guess probably one of the if you want to recruit somebody into your group, go with the Mennonites or the Amish or those type people, because they know a lot of that stuff already. or try to assimilate yourself into their group.
And
I'm
if you're on
pretty
the
sure-
West Coast, just get hippies. You just
I'm
got to find
pretty-
hippies out here.
I'm pretty sure that the Mennonites and the Hutterites and all those guys, when all hell breaks loose, they're going to stay way up there in the mountains. And when we come up there to get in on it, they're going to say, "Go away. We don't want anybody."
I actually have quite a few Amish and Mennonites that live around me.
Just if there's one thing we could all take away from this one, it's you should never stop learning skills. There's always something to learn, and the minute you quit learning is the minute you need to just find a new lifestyle because it's not for you.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree with that 100%.
Absolutely, yeah.
Willing to learn about everything. If somebody comes up and says, "What do you know about blah blah blah?" and you say nothing, I don't need to know about that, then probably not in the right business.
Yep.
Never stop learning, especially when it comes down to food production, water, food storage, and medical. I mean, you can't stop. You will never end there. You will always learn something. Ways.
Anything
one of the
else
things-
from the side chat?
Let's see, side chat.
God damn.
I don't see anything else.
Oh, don't forget about fire making either. I know it seems to get glanced over a lot. We didn't really talk about it, but being able to make a fire, especially if you're in a humid environment, because a friction fire ain't going to work for you here. It's going to be a big one. So learn how to identify rocks like soapstone, so you can carve things out of molds. Flint,
Okay,
so you can make.
I'm going to promote somebody again.
Here we go. He's got another book out.
All right.
Yep.
This book, I've learned so much from this book on a lot of subjects in here. Great book.
Yeah, that's a good one. And so are the Cody Ladine books. I don't know if you pointed those out already.
I got a couple of those back down in California.
Anybody
You'll
that-
never see those again, Gil. We're not letting you back across.
No, my wife's going to bring him to me when she comes up.
She's not getting across.
Well,
where are the fires at
she
from
has
you?
a lot of good friends in the IRS. You don't want to stop her.
Okay, she could go. She could go right now. I'll pay for the ticket. She can go.
Sound like she can make your life miserable, Steve.
Of course you can.
Yeah,
She's a
but
woman.
That's a big one that I've been trying to learn this year. I've been trying to teach myself how to identify rocks because identifying flint and dirt are probably the biggest things in my area because I can't make a friction fire. So having to identify that plus soapstone, since it's soft enough to cut with a knife, that's where a lot of your pottery is made. Not to mention you can heat it in the fire and then put it in water without having to worry about it exploding. So it'll boil your water in a container that can't be put in the fire. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, so if you have a plastic jug, you heat it up and put it in the jug there, and it'll heat up the water and not melt the jug.
Exactly. So you can't put the plastic in the fire, but you can put a soapstone in the fire.
Gil, Budget Bushcraft wants to know if that was Les Stroud.
Yeah.
Yes, Survivor Man.
Well, one of the books that I've been going through a lot lately, just for not reading, but just for the hell of it, my paramedic textbook. Because there is a whole lot of stuff in this book right here. Pretty
That's
advanced
for sure.
stuff.
Everybody should start their own. Everyone should have their own library. Of
And what's neat is
all
that
kinds of different books.
everything's being in soft copy in PDF or Word doc formats, so you can just store it on your computer or whatever. I got where is it here? I can't find it. I got two external hard drives that are 5 terabytes each. That I've just put every time I get a book and stuff, I put it on there. Like I got a bunch of the This Old House and Mother Earth News. I've gotten soft copies of. I got them stored on there.
That's what I'm doing. I'm starting to put books onto flash drives. Somehow in the future, if you need them, you'll find some way of opening them up.
Yeah.
Kenneth H. said reference manuals and know where to find the information. And I agree.
Tibor, you are correct. CHRT is the main one in the Southeast especially, but CORT does work too.
Yeah. If you've seen videos of my of the compound here, you know I've picked up an old 9N tractor. I actually hunted down and got the manual for it. So I can work on that bad boy and resurrect it as many times as I need to.
You're making me jealous, FFP. You're eating wild salmon.
That does not suck.
Him eating salmon made me think of stuff. For a while in California, I had a koi pond, a big one, but it got, as a hobby, it just got too much time consuming away. But raising fish like tilapia and other fish in like a swimming pool, after you take all the chlorine out, you put fresh water in it and put a filter system on it. There's a good way. Someone who knows how to raise the fish in the hydroponic situation like that, or aquaponics, so you can so you can raise fish and stuff where you don't have to go out to the stream and try to fish out there where the water could be contaminated from runoff from something else going on.
Yep, aquaponics will be a big one.
Yeah, sure.
Oh gosh, I think it was Lori Jean brought up the chat's going so fast. I missed it. She asked what happens when you don't have power. How are you gonna get that stuff? Get the information you've stored if the grid goes down.
Solar batteries.
Solar batteries or solar power, or there'll be a way to get it out.
Well, Steve will like this one. This is the predecessor to Steve's Apex. The difference between this one and Steve's Apex is his has the newer adapter, so you can use more ways of connecting to different solar panels than I can. But I'm set up with the panels I have, so I'm good.
Yeah, I got to get a couple more.
Yeah, see, I just the solar panels I get them on sale off of Amazon when they come on sale. They drop down below 129 for the 100 amperes. I'll pick one or two up.
See, I went like super ghetto with my little Apex generator thing, because I've got these, like, I don't know if you can see them just right over here on the shelf, these big white boxes, but those are 3,000 watt inverters, and I just hook those up direct to my 12-volt batteries that I charge off of the solar, and that gives me a hell of a lot of power. So.
Oh yeah, anytime you're hooked up to inverters.
Yeah. I just finished, but before the live tonight, I finished uploading one on what I did specifically for Steve was how to take the 6-volt golf cart batteries and wire them together so you get 12 volts out of it and you can hook an inverter up to it. So
yeah,
I mean,
if Reed can't get me to figure it out, I don't think you can.
Well, I've been using it for years.
I'm good at breaking things, not making things.
It's
rude. Well, I did it at a high school level teaching, so anybody can figure out how to do the basic stuff on hooking it together.
Yeah, you get the household handyman book.
Oh yeah, the Reader Digest handyman book. That was the one that's been around since when I was a teenager, Yeah, I got 3 copies of that. One for me and one for each of my boys.
That's a nice book. I've got one too. It's a hardback one I have. It's a
Yeah,
huge
I've got that one. How to do just about anything, you know.
Yeah, well, I also have one called the Anarchist Cookbook.
Oh, you too? Yeah.
You're not supposed to have that. That's on the ban list. Gee.
I also have all 3 volumes of the CIA Black Book.
Well, you can have that. Not look like a weirdo. We can't do that because we didn't work for Mother Russia. I mean, the government.
No, I did not work for the government. I was employed by the government to work for the American people.
And you have to see those books so you know what the other guys are doing.
Right.
And you have to be able to recognize whenever you see something online that looks like it came from that book.
Can you believe it? They pay
Or
those government
in
guys to watch
person when I see
Facebook
come
all day
across
long.
something.
Yeah.
They pay those guys good money to watch Facebook all day long.
Yeah, just to see if people are filling up tennis balls full of matchstick heads.
Hey, if you guys need a recipe on how to make meth, I got it. I had a Hell's Angel guy give it to me. So, you know, just in case you're
Hey,
wondering.
you know how to make toilet wine too, don't you?
Oh,
All right, you guys.
so Steve, are you going to go Breaking Bad on us?
We've run over. So,
No.
oh, well, we've run almost a half hour over. Must have had a good conversation going.
Yeah.
Is there anything else,
All
you
right.
guys?
Tibor just said he picked up at the Goodwill store for $1 Reader's Digest hardback Back to Basics. That is also a good book.
Oh, that's what Kaylin was saying, and I agree with her. A good place to get books. Don't have to go to the store and pick them up. Go look at used bookstores or libraries. Sometimes libraries have sales. They get rid of all the old stuff so they can bring in new stuff. So you don't have to go out to the store and buy them. You can find them all over the place.
I have found so many good books at the thrift store, and I've paid no more than like $2 a piece.
Yep. So, saying you can't afford to get the books is you're lying to yourself. So, with that, I'm going to shut her down, you guys. You guys on the panel, just stick there. I'll get rid of these other guys.
Bye, other guys.
Bye, everybody.
Everybody say goodbye to side chat.
Bye,
Have a good week, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Later.
All right. Night, guys. Thanks for coming by. I appreciate it.